Welcome to the Current Competence Podcast. I'm not really sure what episode we are at, but I know it's the end of the year podcast and it's definitely the end of season number 2. Today I am joined by Simon and Sebastian, and just like we did last year, we are sitting here with cups of hot mulled wine. Welcome.
Is it already a tradition if you do it the second time?
I think it starts to become a tradition, yes.
Very good. And welcome, Marvin, too. It's a wonderful day outside. It's not
It is.
very Christmassy, but the sun is shining. There are just very few clouds in the sky. The mood is very good. I have to say my adrenaline level is pretty high today, so I'm not making any promises on the quality of this podcast, at least from my side.
I mean, it is most likely the last day of the year. The majority of us are working. Maybe a couple of small tasks next week, but it's Christmas already in less than 1 week, so we are really late with this episode. And you can also feel in the company that it kind of is the last day. People are already in a festive mood. Couple of ugly XMAS sweaters are being worn today, and I might have seen a cheeky beer there or in some departments
Yeah.
already.
For me, it's really the last day before Christmas, so refueling energy. I will be out skiing Sunday with my family. Looking forward to that.
And I think it's the first time in like 10 years that the both of you actually get some time off and not have to work all of the time to finish the end of year rush, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So normally we had to count all the inventory and make all that happen till the year end. But this is already done for this year. We did that back in October. So
Okay.
This is always a special time for me because this is really and the same is for Sebastian. This is 2 weeks where actually nothing happens. So you can get time off of the company, but if things are evolving here and happening without you knowing, it's a nightmare. So actually these 2 weeks of the year, everything is quiet and calm, and so am I. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I have to say, one thing changed in comparison to last year. So if you remember, last year we already did a Christmas episode, and last year there was a major mistake done by me because I only brought 1 bottle of hot wine with me.
yeah, I can remember that. So, but we opened beer, so what was also good and we were drinking by far too much last year. So we will be much more.
Grown up, responsible, prepared. I brought a second bottle this time.
Yeah, and
Perfect. So we can drink more than last year, so that's good.
And we got a funny pill from from Steffi. She said, "Here's a special super secret pill. You're not gonna be hungover tomorrow." I just took it. I didn't read what's on it.
Okay. If anything weird is happening to your body, please don't tell us. Please don't tell us. Okay. Last year we became futurists and we were raving madly about what the next year, the next 10 years, or the next century is holding for us, for the market, for the company. And I think we were looking pretty positive into the future, and I would say we managed to do that. Nevertheless, this year we're going to do the same thing we did all year. We do the complete opposite. So we're going to become historians this year, and we're going to look back in time.
Hey, I can hardly remember what was yesterday.
The nice thing about growing old is the long-term past you remember. It's only the last days that are difficult to remember.
Thanks, Marvin.
Yes, the long-term memory is still there. So I would say as a nice theme for today, while we indulge in the wine, everyone could tell a couple of stories from his life. And I've set a team for this. And you are now very badly prepared for this, and I'm much better prepared because I've been thinking about this for a week already. But basically, I want you to tell our dear listeners 2 stories from your life that are defining moments in bringing you where you are now.
Okay.
If Simon starts, we can drink a lot of wine while he's talking.
Yeah, and the cup will be empty soon. But how shall we do that? So everybody tells one story and then we hand over, or
Yes, everyone tells one story, and obviously the older story first. And then everyone tells that story, and then we tell a second story, which should be slightly more recent.
The older story first. Okay, I really have to think about it. I have one story which I might already have talked about in the past very briefly, what I can share. That comes to my mind right
I
away.
can start as well.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
do it. Yeah, wonderful.
I think, I'm not sure, but it was a
Don't take my story, yeah?
it was a late summer evening back in 1980, 17th of July, and I was born as the second child, and everything else is fate and providence.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Sebastian.
What day
No, it
day
was
of the week was it?
18th. Don't look it up. It must be a Wednesday. I don't
Mine
know.
was a Monday. I was born on a Monday. It was wonderful.
Sunday child.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I don't like Mondays.
Who does?
Hey, Simon.
Okay.
My mom since then.
Okay, maybe Simon, you start with the story.
Okay. So I have one thing in my mind is when Sebastian and I we were it's company related. I would think in the second round of something that is purely private. So company related. Sebastian and I were at 3M at that time, and for quite some time already, for more than 10 years, and we had a decent career. And it was all about how the next steps look like. So we were elected into a leadership development program, which was pretty holistic and far-seeing. So they were talking about a development program that needed to go on for 10 years. So they had a plan for 10 years how to develop those individuals into then executives.
Okay,
And-
mine was set up for 5 years.
Yeah.
No.
This is just depending on the level that you end up, you know.
Okay, not on the speed you
5
make the
times 2
development.
years, Sebastian, perhaps is that's what you mix up. And so we were pretty thrilled about that because just very few people were selected, and we were often loud and uncomfortable, but hardworking at least, and to a certain degree professional in what we were doing.
You are still talking about 3M. You're not
Yeah.
talking the unprofessional part about working at Kern, right?
No.
Okay,
Still
I was
talking about
confused
3M.
for a short moment.
And so we were both talking a lot and making up our minds, and both being on the same project. This was kind of exciting. And part of this program was at that time that you met executives. So you co-traveled, you spent a week with them, and that's what I did. At the end of the year, I think it was, I'm not 100% sure, I think it was 2015. So September 2015. And I went to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and there was one of the executives, and actually we knew each other for quite some time and didn't find each other very sympathetic. That's the least to say. And the funny thing was, I was going to the gym every morning, very early, 4 o'clock, 4:30 or something, and I met him. And of course, you're sitting next to each other on the bike or a row machine or whatever, and of course, you start talking. And the next day, I promised, okay, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be later. He thought the same thing. So we showed up at 5:15 and both at the same time. So needless to say, really, I'm not exaggerating. It happened for another 3 days. So 5 days consecutively at different times we met in the gym. And the discussions we had were kind of eye-opening. And he was telling about his life and what he's doing and how important everything is. Coming back to the point that they made a decision on things that Sebastian and I were working on, and actually after this half an hour, and I didn't say that, so my first moment of going intelligence was not to tell him. We were working on that, and he was actually telling how much of a difficult decision that is for the European organization and so on. And actually, we made all the decision in the forehand, not being close to the senior management level that he was, but all decisions have been made on our end already, and all the work has been done. The only thing was to convince the upper management that what we thought is right will get the votes and will be decided for, but no additional value was created at that time. And needless to say, I called Sebastian directly after. And we had a short conversation on the phone, and the essence was, we need a move. So it's not going to get better. It's not going to be more influence. It's not going to be more decision-making, more creativity, more ability to really bring things forward and change the company. This is not the right place to go. And this was, for me, really a super important point in time to say, okay, we need to take our fate into our own hands, which we did afterwards. And funny enough, so I'm not too esoteric in general, but from this decision on, everything else fell into place. So of course it was difficult, finding the right company, like Kern being around the corner. So we didn't want to move at that time. We had family and homes and so on. So we were kind of limited in our abilities to change. But it fell into place and developed very nicely after this one decision that's been made from the heart and from the head. So both together. And this was surely a turning point in my life. And I think possibly in your life too. Not the very moment, but the decision making. You knew before, so I had to I had to make the development.
Wow, that's a pretty long. I can remember the phone call we had, but I wasn't aware that this is a so special moment. So absolutely not, because we discussed that beforehand as well. That leaving this place where we learned a lot is maybe the right thing to develop ourselves. So, but nice story.
Thank you.
The problem is, Marvin, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but my first story would start earlier than Simon's. So
okay,
either we do a complete new record of the session, or I just keep on going.
I mean, like, your first story need to be, for you personally, needs to be older.
Okay.
Otherwise, if I tell a defining moment from my life, being much younger than you two, you wouldn't get to
Can
say
you
anything
define
at all.
much?
Yes, I can. So go on with your story. Just know your second story needs to be more recent. Otherwise, we're not following the theme I wrote down.
Oh, thank you. The thing is, it's really, for me, it's hard to define certain tipping points where I can really judge that this was such a tipping point, really leading me towards Kern or what I'm doing today, because it's really a lot of small steps you're doing. So if I should pick one, it's really when I started working right after university study. It was back in 2003. So Marvin, not sure if you were born at that time. So
What?
As you're much younger. No, just kidding.
I'm quite sure you have my employment file in your hand every week to put another warning into it, so you should know my date of birth
We have
very
little
correctly.
No, it was back in 2003. I started working, and we had a machine shop equipped with 2 Hermli machines. And the guys working there were doing fabulous stuff in terms of prototyping, mold making. It was all for the dental business, so prototyping parts for dental devices such as curing lights you get when you need to cure the filling, the composite filling in your tooth afterwards with blue light. So and we did prototypes for these curing devices, and also for filling material capsules. And it was it was maybe the first time I got in touch with milling machines and the things you can do there. So making prototyping molds, getting the parts out of it was really something I didn't experience before. And I was working in the mechanical design department, so I was doing the design work for all these capsules and devices, or parts of it. So And then after, I think it was 1.5 or 2 years, I got the opportunity to join another team. And this team was working on a complete system, which was called the 3M Lava system. It was a system where you can first scan the dental impression, make a 3D file out of it, make a CAM calculation, and later mill the restoration on a CNC milling machine. And I had the opportunity to join that team as a project leader for developing the next generation of that milling machine. And by having the experience with the mold shop we had, this was a very nice opportunity for me to develop my skill set, but also get more into the machine business and that technology there. So this is maybe one of these things where I would today judge this was kind of special, leading me towards Kern.
I always tell people you're the technical oriented person, and it's nice to hear that you actually have experience with designing the machines.
I do have, not kidding. It's if you mill zirconium oxide.
Mm-hmm.
So the manufacturer we had at hand to build these milling machines, they wanted to go for a vertical spindle again, as they did with the older machine. But the problem is if you have all the dust within the tooth, that creates a lot of pressure to the restorative material. And it's zirconium oxide in green state. So yes, I did some design work on this machine to make it a horizontal one.
I mean, we know that horizontal machines are horrible here at Kern. No, they are actually really nice. It depends on the design decision. One advantage we, of course, have is having flood coolant and having lots of air pressure to remove material. But for that dental machine, I remember you telling me when we traveled to Berlin about that. There it definitely was the correct decision to make a horizontal mill. Also in terms of space taken up.
And by the way, mentioned before, it had internal automation already, which was a unique selling proposition at that point. Nobody else had it. Still till today, in all these chairside machines, they are all hand-filled and manually and so on. But
I still own a patent on the workpiece changer.
Yeah, and? Making any money for it? No.
No, not a single penny.
Okay, Marvin, tell us your story.
Okay, I think my villain origin story, and I think I already told this on the podcast beforehand, but just like Simon, I forgot about it. My origin story basically is the first time I stood on a CNC milling machine. It was at my previous employer at Datron, and they gave me a short 2-day crash course. Didn't know anything about CAM programming, so I watched a John Saunders tutorial about Fusion programming, and then they put me in front of that milling machine and just told me to mill something. And
sorry, Marvin, I have to open the second bottle.
Why are you already empty? I still have like a third of my cup left. Okay, I see. This is the experience they must be talking about. So anyway, they put me in front of that machine completely alone in the building, went away, and 3 hours later I had made a part, and that part was actually, I mean, looking back, if someone were to show me that part, I would probably say, oh, the horror,
Decent.
the horror. But back then, it kind of was the most respectable and best finished part I had created in my life. So like, it was a wooden part, and woodworking in school was a horrible experience to me. I wouldn't say that I have 2 left thumbs, but I'm just not practiced in it. So when you give me a file, afterwards you have 6 degrees of freedom in that surface in terms of curvature. And back then it was just like, it was a flawless part. And for me, this was really the moment where I realized my mind can make something real and it has some value to its appearance. And that kind of was the defining villain origin story. And I told myself on that day, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And have been doing that ever since.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was quick. I didn't think about a second story yet. No. So, to continue at that end, I promise to have something that is. Did you finally start your second one?
No.
In Germany, we call
I
it
think
a Rohrkrepierer. This is if you
Wow.
don't get get stuff in or out, then
It basically means dying in a tube. Rohrkrepierer.
yeah. Okay.
I feel
Yeah, it's
very
for
hot.
sure. It's for sure military
very
language.
hot.
Did you
already.
put Schnaps in it?
No.
No, you didn't.
Why?
This
Okay.
is the good. This is the good Etaler one.
Ah, the gute Etaler.
The
Wow,
good Etaler
that
one.
was on a Christmas party last year, which was very nice. This year's Christmas party was also very nice. But Steffi told me, please, Simon, not so much acceleration at the very beginning because you were pretty drunk when the party started. But she organized the Schnaps and the beer tasting before. So when I arrived at the party, I was already kind of bad shape.
I think
Yeah,
at the next Christmas
year was better.
party, she should be taking the pills she gave you to be more relaxed.
Yeah,
She's always taking too much care during the party.
yeah, which is good.
Yeah, this year was the first year we had an after-show party, and not kidding, it was a Friday, and Monday morning I stepped in the into the gas station in Murnau, and I was asked, "Hey, did you have your Christmas party on Friday?"
Yeah, but that's what you want to hear, huh? Next day or next week. Okay, I promised a more emotional or personal story. Still,
Yes, please.
Still,
No more old guys.
related to Kern, and I have to send up front. So at the beginning, when you start being a CEO or whatever, of course you're a little bit overwhelmed by the frame that you have to fit in, or the pair of shoes, or however you want to call it. And what I learned in the last couple of years is also sharing emotions, talking about fear or about German angst. And there are some in the industry, perhaps the one or the other is listening, where we're in the meanwhile pretty open, talking about the things that keep us up at night. And just to say it, I hope they take it for good, is Daniel Locher, for example. We got a very nice Christmas present from him today. Or it's also Swift, for example, when we talk about the challenges of having a company and things like that, and it helps to share stories. So in the meanwhile, I want to say I'm more open to also share some things from the inside, so you don't get hurt. But in Germany we say, du brichst dir keinen Zacken aus der Krone, so you don't break an edge out of your crown if you do so. So one story I want to share, at that time when it was clear that Sebastian and I will take over at Kern, it was never our intention to buy the company. So our previous owner said, if you want to run the company, you need to own it. And he had some tough requirements for us to buy the 51% shares, so the majority. And right before Christmas, so around about that time, many years ago, I was having a great evening with my father-in-law, and we had a lot of whiskey at that day. So I can say we could hardly walk at the
It
end.
all starts and ends with alcohol.
Yeah, this is a problem. And so we're talking about he was always interested in what we were doing at Kern, and so I shared the stories with all the enthusiasm and passion that hopefully is still feelable today. And at that evening, roughly far over the border of making any good decisions, he said, if one day there's the opportunity to invest or to buy the company, let me know, I will help you. And there was a not super special moment at that previous evening, but when some weeks later Eckhard came to our office and said, okay, this is the deal, but you have to bring capital. So you have to bring money to the table, not from the bank, but your own money. And I called Harry. Harry is my father-in-law. And believe it or not, he could still remember the promise he made that evening.
And Simon said, now is the time.
Now is the time. And of course, Sebastian and I put in as much as we could, so over the edge, more than we should have. But he did too, and much more than we could at that time. And why am I telling that? So, of course, this was then reaching that level and making the requirements to be able to buy the company, and also with the banks and everything else. Afterwards was hard work, but nevertheless was a magic moment. The most important thing I want to share at that point is when you make a step like that, and you have to take over responsibility for a company and whatnot. You challenge yourself, you question yourself all the time. Am I able to? I've never been a CEO before, as well. Sebastian also has never been a CEO. He has a little bit more self-esteem, I want to say, so he's pretty convinced of his abilities. Eine Mima I made up.
Sorry, I think I must have gotten some wine into the wrong pipe or something.
Yeah, but what I want to say is, besides the fact that we solved a problem that night, that was, and still is till today, a turning point. Somebody that worked his whole life and made a very good career and a fortune, but invested a really significant amount of money in the trust he had in me, and of course also Sebastian personally. And this is something that I haven't experienced before. So of course people trust you, but I say, I believe in you. That's easy to say if you're not personally invested, if your future is not depending on it all the time. And that for me was a real magical moment that still carries me till today, is somebody taking a big risk in the true belief that I can make it happen. And yeah, I want to write him a Christmas card this year to express that, but I tried 2 times, and so we are not on a very emotional side. So
have you asked Copilot to write it for you?
Perhaps I should try. I know it's going to be the same. So we surely going to have an evening where we have 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, and then perhaps I just express it with words.
Maybe just give him a long hug.
Yeah. You don't know him, right?
No, I've met him before, but I haven't tried hugging him. But I know hugging you at the moment is a very comfortable feeling.
Yeah, it's because I really got fat this year.
Yes, it is warm and soft.
I hate you.
Have you ever heard about a story starting with Diet Coke instead of alcohol? A good story, an emotional, magical moment?
No, I haven't.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. Me neither.
The wine is already, I'm sweating.
It either starts
so
with
hot.
alcohol or cigars, but never with Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Okay.
True thing.
I'm gonna go before Sebastian because I'm starting to notice the wine, and as long as I can still pronunciate all the words, I'm gonna just go in front of him.
Sorry for interrupting, Marvin, because I just want to take because there is a direct link to what Simon said. Is so this story ends more or less when we decided to buy the company and we prepared all the contracts and finally did the signing. For me, really, there was a lot of uncertainty in it, how the people would react after that. So this was for me really impressive, astonishing. You take words. I can't express that, but it was really we signed that contract, and we had a town hall meeting right after where we said, hey, we took over. It's now Simon and me leading Kern, and this reaction we got from the team and this positive energy we got back from the people immediately. So it was from the first minute on, and that is still today you can feel that. So this trust into our decisions and also not only the two of us, but also all the people who developed within their careers to help leading this company. We are not the only leaders in the company. There are lots of leaders in this company, and they all developed throughout the years. but still today, the trust we felt from the very first moment where we said, hey, we are now owning this company and we want to develop something, and we still do today. No matter if we still own it or if it's Amatec now, we still develop that company. We have a goal, and the people are following our decisions still today, and that's very impressive, and I'm very thankful about that.
I mean, I remember when you two bought the company. It was in my first year at Kern, and I remember that town hall meeting. And typically, when you tell people, "Hey, the company just got sold," and to whoever, people are a little bit afraid of the change. And back then, it wasn't. And I remember after you announced it, like walking into Simon's office, because I always just walked into Simon's office and be like, "Hey, I think this is really cool, and I'm looking forward to it." And I would guess that the majority of reactions were like that. So yeah, it's been a great decade, I would say, with the two of you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Don't quit. Don't quit.
So I'm really over the thing. I think
it feels like 2 decades, by the way.
There have been some bets on how long we're gonna stay, and I think we made it to the maximum period, 12 months.
Nah, I'm supervising the betting pot, so if any listeners want to get into the action, just write me a message. There's still up to 36 months.
Oh, 36 months. But don't bet on the 24, because I already booked my flights till October next year. So maybe
to Hawaii or where?
No, we're going to Chimtov.
Oh yeah, we're going to Chimtov with you, Marvin. With you.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
No, how could I forget? But we're also going to IMTS, aren't we?
We're going to IMTS.
At least the two of us. We're probably going to send Sebastian to AMB, right?
Yeah, let's try something
As
new.
Always.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah, that's good.
Sebastian, it's a question of. Okay.
What do you want to say? Ball size, or what was the
competence? No. It's just like for the American market, Okay, I'm gonna switch the topic because I'm sweating even more right now. Okay, that was your second story. So the moment where people felt trust in you, or did you want to put another one out?
So take over, Marvin. I just keep thinking about a
okay,
third and fourth story.
Okay, yeah, maybe you want to put out a more emotional one later. Okay, so my second story. Okay, my second story. And I need this one is going to be longer. I need to put some theory into the heads of our listeners. There is a known concept which is called the Dunning-Kruger curve, and that one is Dunning-Kruger curve. That one basically is a curve that plots the perceived confidence of a person over their competence. So basically, how much do they think they know and actually know about a subject?
Believe it or not, I know it, and I read something about it really literally this week.
Yes, exactly. It kind of looks like a very, very steep linear increase and then basically a bathtub curve. And the funny thing about that one is we are... most people in the beginning, and this is something that happens to all of us, and it actually happens to like people in responsible positions much more. When you read about something, you immediately feel you become the expert. And then if you involve yourself in the subject even more, you start to discover, okay, all the things I thought about are actually wrong. So those armchair experts, they are typically in that linear phase or at the first peak. They think they know everything about it, and they are very confident. At the same time, their competence is very low. A defining moment in my career was in 2022 when I was doing the defense of my PhD. Because back then, I already was over that first peak. I think I maybe already was over that first peak very shortly after starting at Kern. And I went into that defense situation, and I have to say, during my whole studies at university, I never was very good in oral exams because I always was stuck in that linear phase. So I thought I was very competent, but I wasn't actually. That's a horrible thing if you go into an oral exam. And when I went into my defense, I actually believed like, okay, I know very few things about this. This was very rushed, but I'm probably going to wing it because at least 3 out of the 4 professors taking the exam like me. So chances are I'm going to make it. And the first professor, he was called Professor Durst. And Durst is like thirst. And he started asking me questions which had nothing to do with my PhD thesis, because the PhD thesis was the experimental investigation. And he was asking me about the theoretical explanation of all the phenomena. And in German, it makes a lot more sense. My brother later told me this was a Durststrecke. You were like, it felt really, really long, like you were dying of thirst, because he was asking me questions and I was just like bumbling around. So in that competence curve, I was not very far along. But for me, that defining moment came afterwards. 3 more professors, and all of them asked complicated questions, but they were questions related to both my methodology, but also the subject of my thesis. So they actually asked me stuff about my thesis. And I was able to answer every question with a short and precise and correct statement. And it was just like answering everything. And it seriously felt like a defense, and they couldn't find a crack in my armor back then. And to me, that really showed, even though I went in there believing, hey, I don't know that much about it, I was at the bottom of that Gröninger curve. And I went out of that meeting and I was actually a lot more confident in my abilities. So maybe leaving the bathtub phase. And I was like, okay, being very well versed in methodology, but also in a single subject is something that appeals to me. And since then, that moment defined how I tackle every project. I try to have flawless methods I use. I try to not take shortcuts, but also to really deeply involve myself and question everything in the beginning. Because when you start with something new, I've now spent the last 1.5 years working on a CNC polishing technology. When you start with something new, you're immediately like, okay, polishing is easy. You take something soft and an abrasive, and then you arrive at a shiny mirror surface. And from the beginning of that project, I questioned everything, but did proper methodology, and we are now really moving forward with that project. So I think my second story, that second defining moment, was to discover, to really know about something, to really dig deep, is something that is worthwhile for me.
Very nice story, and I
Did
can
you both
say
fall asleep?
no, and I can say I truly believe in that theory, and this also changed my behavior a lot, because you will always find that is a very humbling situation. You find people that know a lot more about the things you talked as an expert, and bringing you down to the bottom of that curve. So after the first 20%, you see yourself
peak of elevation, yes.
Yeah, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean that's one of the problems I see within a company. So if you're leading a company, people always or tend to ask you making decisions on this and that. The truth is, the people asking you are in many aspects much more deep into the problem, seeing everything from different sides than you are. Of course, it's easy to make a decision, but it might be so. The probability of being wrong is much higher. So it's in many cases it's more letting the people do the decision and just supporting them in going their way. And that's something I had to learn over the years, that they always ask you to drive a decision, and you can do that, but it's better.
Decision-making machine.
yeah. Without any knowledge.
That is true. Humbleness is the most important thing, and you don't want to be the guy in the gym at 4:00 in the morning. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, but I have to say that moment and that realization also changed the way I question other people's work. Before that defense, I used to question a lot of design decisions from our development. And nowadays, I accept their design decisions. I'm like, okay, maybe you thought this was the best choice, but can you explain how you arrived there? And then I just really bend them over on their methodology if it's flawed.
Oh, very good. So, shall we talk a little bit about this year, or are we done? So, I have my second cup empty, and I
I
perhaps
think there
have
is a little
5
bit more
minutes.
left in the bottle.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness!
That was
No.
just half a cup.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sebastian always has to be careful because we're going out with our families tonight. We do that also. It's a wonderful tradition. We go for dinner, and last time's dinner, yeah, I was in a pretty bad shape, I have to say. It still was a nice evening
I
for
got
me.
Told beforehand, at the end of this podcast, you still need to be able to speak. So
Okay.
that is kind of our
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
completely different than last year.
So shall we?
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about the past year. Past year, very, very difficult year in terms of the market, but also very novel year because it's the first year with AIMATEC. So people shoot. Let's start with AIMATEC. First year under AIMATEC.
Yeah. So normally you would expect that if you get part of a new corporation, you have this first year of integration, and everybody tells you that's a tough year because you need to integrate everything, and so especially the processes in terms of controlling, so financing, controlling, IT, all of that needs to be integrated, and that's a huge effort. Nobody really expected that beside this effort of integration work to AIMATEC, we would have challenges like tariff discussions or the rare earth magnet ban we saw from China, or overall the really weak supply chain, especially when in this year it comes to German suppliers. So all these challenges came alongside this integration.
The weaker dollar.
And the weaker dollar, and we didn't expect that. So this is if you look back the whole year, integration, at least for me, is maybe the easiest part of it. But the challenges were really dramatic in a way.
Yeah. And I want to say also different. So people in the US might feel differently about that because the economy is still doing good and so on. So just to share that, so German machinery really is absolutely miserable. We have never been in a situation like that before. So 2018, German machinery was 18 billion in total turnaround. We will finish the year in a range of 10.5 to 11. So you see there's a big portion missing. And just because of many reasons, also we as Germans, so we are a little bit special, very, I should say, down to earth, sometimes a little bit too negative, which makes the situation even worse. And right now you have the feeling that a lot in this country is not going in the direction it should be. Some of this.
Maybe quickly, you're talking about the state of the German market. So German machine tool companies as a whole, not Kern specifically.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
yeah,
No, I'm just clarifying that for our listeners.
I want to build you
Yeah.
know.
Just like
the
Kern
tension.
doesn't do 10 billion, just letting our listeners know.
German machinery.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
what I said. So the whole German machinery market was 18 billion. Now it's maybe 11 or something like that. So also because of the automotive industry, which always has historically been very important for Germany as a country and as an economy. So, long story short, we had a little bit of growth last year. So I think 5.9%, which is pretty low for us. Even if it's a company that's there for more than 60 years, 5.8% is more or less static if you deduct inflation, things like that. But this year we're going to end up in a range of 15% roughly. And this is tremendous and even a surprise for me, for us. We actually did the work partly last year, but also this year. The team was really on point and on the spot to actually deliver this important results. We see, of course, that customers are hesitating making a buying decision in troubled times, and so on. So, for example, you see a lot of companies going bankrupt around the world, but especially also here. There may be even in our supply chain at that point, and you see many of them are in trouble because they made too big investments. But what I can say is there's not a single one in trouble buying a machine. They are all in trouble because they bought buildings and built buildings in the last couple of years by far too big and too expensive at that time, and now interest rate change and blah blah blah. So I don't want to overdo it. So let's see, from a performance perspective, we are super grateful this year. We had a really good year, very good year in Emetech. We have the opportunities next year to leverage the organization, the structure we found in that mother company after having a year with a lot of should I say tasks and efforts to actually make this integration. I think we stood our ground on many things. We stayed the company that we were. That's what I'm very proud of, and what is super important to me is that we didn't change as a company. So we're still doing the things. We still are enthusiastic and passionate about the things we're doing. We convince customers, and we fight our pole position in technology and as well as in performance. So that's important. I would say is a good summary of this year. It was tremendously hard. It was really a lot of work for every single one of us, I would say. But we succeeded, and that's the only formula to success. There's no free lunch. So especially also in troubled times and challenging years, that's the most important thing: persistency and release some positive energy.
Yeah, and maybe to add from my point of view, the base of that success we had during that year with all the hard work was again this this differentiation we have on the technology part of it. And I do not expect that times will get better, that we will regain sales in the machinery business, because I got some numbers recently, and I looked it up here. I got some numbers recently how the machine tool industry might develop over the next 20 years. So the truth is the average machine tool today is able to gain 1,500 spindle hours a year. So that means...
Which is not a lot.
Which is not a lot, because you have 8,700 in a total year, something like that. So 1,500. In total, the industry estimates that there are 5 million machine tool machines in the market right now, 5 million. And the expectation is that in 20 years, it will go down to 1 to 2 million, but of course with a much higher rate of efficiency, so much more spindle hours. So it's very, very important to stay on that technology lead of that. So we had a very nice project this year, very cumbersome and hardworking project, challenging, where we implemented an HEV solution with a robot on top doing raw material handling for 2 of our milling machines. But this is the only way you get spindle hours on these machines, and that's a kind of futuristic approach we will see much more in the next few years. So the machine tool industry, the challenges we have in that industry just have started. So the only way to win that is to be highly differentiated.
I mean, this is something you notice whenever you speak to a customer or a supplier. If they produce a phenomenal product or a super nice part, which is really differentiated, where they are the only person who are able to do it, then they are actually doing really well and they are not whining. But then you have, and Christmas is the time where all of the tool suppliers are visiting companies, and then you have like those tool suppliers that make good tools, high quality tools, but it's everyday tooling. It's just like tool room quality. For example, Hoffmann Tools in Germany. They visit and they are just whining about business because business is so bad. And I'm telling them, Yeah, but look, you made a killer earning the past 20 years, but you never invested into cutting edge technology, and now everyone is catching up. And when the market shrinks, people are not replacing 2 machines with 2 new machines. They are replacing it with one better machine.
Cutting edge technology is very nice for cutting tool industry, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm always smiling a little bit when I say that. And really, our customers, the ones that are like super differentiated, who invested a lot into becoming the best at what they are doing really well. And the ones who are a little bit lazy and just like confident in doing what they were doing, they are whining. I typically tell them to just go away.
Yeah. we all know your level of sensitivity and empathy. Yeah, so okay, that's about it. Very nice things said. So I feel the same, and this is what everyone listening to this podcast can actually rely on: is we will do the extra mile, and that is what I need. For example, for good mood, for a good feeling, is have we done more than what we actually need to? Because this is the recipe for ongoing success. And if people ask me, why is Kern successful in a year where everybody else is complaining and shrinking and so on, that's the only thing I can say. So it's hard. It's not easy. If you let go one time, you will regret it. Yeah, it's always the same thing. And you can see, looking at Sebastian, you can see that in his wrinkles, and he said we had some photos
Simon,
of the Christmas party. I said we look
Simon,
like 70 years old.
Simon, tell me, how can you always say you're giving more and you're gaining weight all the time?
I don't know. I mean, it's his recipe against the wrinkles. You know, if you feel them from the inside.
Feel them from the inside.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't have any wrinkles. Guys, I'm building a shield.
against doom.
Protection.
Against doom.
That's protection.
Okay, we are getting very silly. I have to say, it was a shorter second season. I think we did 7 podcasts this year compared to the 11 the year before. And just before we started,
I wasn't invited.
Yeah, just before we started recording this episode, we discovered we didn't do a podcast with Sebastian this year. So, well, we kind of managed at the very end of the year. I have to say thanks. It was an awesome year. It was an awesome second season. I'm wishing the both of you and all of our listeners a very happy festive season, no matter what fest you're celebrating. And I'm looking forward to 2026.
Thank you, Marvin.
Very well said. Thank you very much, and same to you.